Good afternoon, pen folks. Happy Festivus to you. That gives you a clue on what day of the week it is or what day of the year it is. But we're getting close to Christmas. We've got beautiful weather here. We're in the 50s. I'm in shorts. I've got no shoes on. And I'm wearing another one of the ugliest shirts you've ever seen, which is becoming kind of an unintentional theme of this channel. But you know what? I have a lot of very comfortable flannels. They don't all look great, but you know, doesn't matter. Not like anybody's going to watch this video anyways. So I have, I don't remember the brewery here, but this is called Cold Mountain. And people in the upstate go bonkers for this stuff, my family included. So I picked up a 6-pack because the grocery store had this huge display dedicated to this beer. It's pretty good. Not really a beer guy so much, but it is, you know, afternoon, 2 days before Christmas, so why not? It's a nice wintry, probably got some spices in here and kind of, you know, heavier lager type beer, but it's good. So today in this pen chat, which I think we're up to 9, I'm going to talk about 3 pens that I think highlight what makes this hobby so fun and interesting. Because you've got 3 different pens, one German pen, one Japanese pen, one Italian pen. And they are so different from each other in every way. The only thing that's consistent are the nib sizes. So you've got the Graf von Faber-Castell Classic with the number 5 nib, 18 karat. You've got a Pilot Custom 823 with the number 6 nib, Pilot's number 15, 14 karat. And then you've got the Visconti Homo Sapiens, which is a number 6 nib, 18 karat as well. So they all have very similar nib widths, line widths. So that's why I chose these 3, and also because I don't really have that many pens, so I don't have a whole lot to compare. But these are I think really, you know, premium, grail-worthy fountain pens at very different price points. You can't go wrong with any of them, but if you're considering either of them, you need to you know, do your research and try them, because they're, you know, the Pilot is, I think, one that you can buy blind and anybody's going to like it. I've talked about it on this channel quite a bit. The Custom 823 is, I think, the best pen for most people. I can't imagine someone buying that and being unhappy with it. There's downsides to it, I guess. If you're more into materials and you're more into, you know, the aesthetics of a pen, you may not like the Pilot that much. I mean, it's just kind of a cheap resin. You know, it may crack eventually, and you'll have to replace it, but that's why the price point is significantly lower than the other 2, which the other 2 I think are pretty much bomb-proof. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily better than the Pilot. They just are different. So, you know, if you like unique materials and just something really awesome to have and own forever, Pilot may not be, you know, the 823 may not be the pen for you. You may want, you know, something a little bit more, I guess, something that jumps out at you a little bit more, and you know, that may be the Visconti or the Graf. So anyways, we're going to talk about those 3. I'll go into a lot of detail on the different, on the characteristics of the 3 nibs, because the nibs themselves are so different. Yeah, anyways, hope you enjoy this video, and I think we're going to do it outside today because it's nice, and why not? All right, thanks. All right, so first and foremost, let's go through these inks here that I have. So I've got, in the Graf, I have Kobe Nagasawa number 51, which I think is called Kanocho Midnight. It's a blue-black, which is my favorite color, ink color. In the Visconti, I have the Wet Pen Rainier Blue. This is a very bright kind of royal blue, with a lot of sheen to it. This is a really awesome, very, very wet flowing ink. All 3 of these are actually. And this is Robert Oster Carbon Fire. And I have this in the Pilot 823. This is another great blue-black. Definitely leans more towards blue, but it's just a really, really great ink. Robert Oster makes fantastic blues. So if you haven't tried them, I would recommend it. Slide this over. All right, so let's start this off here with the Pilot 823. So Pilot 823, as I have said, is I think the best pen for most people. You've got a very kind of basic design here, cigar-shaped pen. You've got gold plating on the cap band and on the finials. This is the amber model. Easy, 2 rotations done cap. Good grip section. Vacuum filler. I actually have the O-ring out of mine, but normally if you're writing for long sessions, you would need to unscrew the blind cap to let the ink kind of flow freely into the chamber and into the feed. I don't have to do that with this one. And then just a fantastic nib. So you've got a 14 karat gold nib. This is in a medium. The medium is by far the best nib size in this pen. Even if you like fines, this writes fairly fine. But it's just really fun to write with in the medium. It's super smooth. And that I think is the biggest takeaway of this pen, is how incredible the nib is. It is, like I said, so smooth. It is very firm nib. It's not very soft, not a lot of bounce to it. Just amazing. It's just an amazing pen. And this is new. It's about I think it's $384 new with most sellers. You can get them for $200 on Reddit or on eBay or something. And this is just a great value. Now again, you've got a number 6 nib on here. Pilot's number 15, and it's like I said, it's not very soft, which is fine. I mean, it's softer, I think, than the 845, which is the also number 15, the two-tone 18 karat nib on the Pilot Custom 845. It's a little softer than that nib. I found that nib to be pretty firm, almost a nail. But this one is just great. I think it's the better of the two nibs. And you could easily have this pen be the only pen in your collection. And be super happy with it. Never get tired of it. I use this daily, and I have kind of objectively nicer pens and fancier pens and more expensive pens, and but this is just a workhorse. It's almost perfect. It is resin. I've had issues with with trying to clean it, which I tried to disassemble it to clean it, and I screwed up the threads and didn't use the right tool. You can have some issues with that, but that's more user error than anything else. And Pilot just has great customer service. They have a repair center in the U.S. in Florida, so if you're in the U.S., it's pretty easy. It was about maybe a month and a half that I was without this when I had to get it repaired. If you drop it and you mess up the nib, you can send it to them and they'll send you back a new one, and they'll charge you for it, but it's not going to be full price. So that's a pro for sure. I can see how maybe people would get a little bored with the appearance of it, but I think it's really nice, and it's just very comfortable. It's thin, it's postable because it's a pretty light pen. I don't post it, but it's not super back weighted when you do. It is just a perfect everyday pen. And if you don't have one, I would recommend it over these next two. I think. So that's the Pilot. So next I'll just go in order of retail price. So go with the Graf. This is a Graf von Faber-Castell in Macassar wood. This is the classic. Now, the price difference, this is about double the price. And really it's most obvious in the materials. I mean, the Graf is a number 5 nib, which I was pretty surprised. I mean, I knew it was a number 5 nib, but surprised at the difference in size between these two. Because you just kind of equate a more expensive pen to a larger nib, I think, or at least I do sometimes, and it's just not the case here. I mean, it's 18 karat, but it's a small nib, and it's a small pen. I mean, it's very narrow. The grip section's very narrow, and it is a fingerprint magnet. But I'll tell you what, the nib on this is an absolute superstar. It is so, and this isn't a fine, which don't really think of a fine in this and a medium in the Pilot as comparable, because it's this is a German pen, so it does write a good bit wetter. But this nib is absolutely amazing. It has an awesome feedback. It's a pencil-like feedback. I find it more enjoyable than a Sailor nib. And it is super soft. For an 18 karat gold nib that's this tiny, it has a good bit of bounce to it when you're writing. You can feel it as you're writing, but it doesn't take away from the precision of it. So this is a great pen for printing. Yeah, it's amazing. And for the difference in price between the Pilot and between the Graf, at double the price, I don't think it's worth it. Personally, I'd rather have, price considered, I'd rather have the Pilot. But if you can swing it, I'm telling you what, these Graf nibs are amazing. I definitely prefer the nib to the Pilot, and that's saying something, because I think this is one of the best nibs ever made in the Pilot. But it's just it's that much different. It's very unique. I don't have anything else like it. I've had Sailors before and sold them. It just, the pencil feedback in those, it is cool, but it didn't justify the kind of the cheap overall feel of those pens. Even a King of Pen 1911 in resin, it just felt cheap. And the nib itself is pretty awesome, but for that and for what you're getting for a lesser price than a King of Pen and better materials, cooler materials, the Macassar wood, it's just gorgeous. It's going to patina really nice over time. The oils from your finger are going to seep into it. And it's a very sturdy material. And then this kind of, ruthenium coating on the nib and on the cap. And then on top of that, you have the best clip of any pen that I have. You have it's a spring-loaded clip. It's just such a unique pen. And again, this one, you can't really post this either. It will go on. You kind of have to jam it on, which I'm not going to do. So I think if you could post it, it would be very comfortable posted, because it is a rather narrow pen. I'm sure that you can post it. I just don't want to. But yeah, the Graf von Faber-Castell Classic is just one of my favorite writing experiences. I'd probably say it's number 2 in my collection, behind my Namiki Emperor. The Pilot Custom Marushi is just, it's amazing, but for a totally different reason. But yeah, so I'll kind of move on to the next one, and then I'll talk about all three together. So next pen here, we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens. This is the Dark Age. Another 18 karat gold nib. This is also a fine. So, right off the bat, what stands out about this one is the material that they used on the whole pen, barrel, grip, cap. It's this like basaltic lava type material. It almost feels like rubber. It's very, very porous, very nice to grip. And it does, this isn't just marketing, but it actually does absorb kind of moisture from your hands and fingers. So you can write with this thing forever, and it doesn't feel like it's slipping. You don't need to dry your hands off or wipe the pen off, and you never have to wipe this pen off because it doesn't take any fingerprints whatsoever except for on the clip. So it also just looks awesome on a desk. The all black especially. The Bronze Age version is cool, but I like the Dark Age more. This is a power filler, so it works similar to the vacuum fill of the Pilot, except there's no ink window, and it doesn't hold nearly as much ink as the A23. This holds, I think it's about 1.7, I think is what I've read, which is probably half, maybe a little bit more than half than what the A23 holds. But again, no ink window. So the other thing that stands out about this is the nib as well. Visconti, this 18 karat gold fine is an amazing nib. It's super smooth. It's very similar to the feel of the A23 nib, but with a little bit more feedback and a lot softer than the A23. It is a little bit longer. Well, compared, it looks about the same, but maybe it just looks longer because it's more tubular. But there's no feedback on this at all. So right off the bat here, I'll show. So off the bat, there are definitely reasons to get all three. So I think the Pilot is a great kind of first premium pen, and I think it should be the first premium pen that anybody buys as you're getting into this, because it is it may be the last pen that you really ever want. It's the perfect nib. It's a great grip section. It's a great filling system. I find it very easy to clean because you can see what's going on. So you can see how much more, plunging you need to do in a cup of water to see how much more you need to clean it. Pretty easy to disassemble it, again, if you have the right tool. And it's not the end of the world if something happens to it, because you can just send it off to Pilot and they'll fix it, or you can just replace it, and it's not detrimental because you can find them used. So I do think that if someone was starting out their collection and wanted to upgrade to a premium gold nib, I think the A23 or the 743 is probably the way to go. But again, you're sacrificing the wow factor. You're sacrificing the materials that are used, and this doesn't feel premium when you're using it like the other two do. But the writing experience is absolutely premium. So that's really all that matters to me, but your mileage may vary. Another now, the Graf, I think the reason to get this pen is because of the nib, and because Graf is just a really cool company. They've been around forever. They have some really cool models. All of their pens, oddly, have a smaller nib than what you would think would be on that pen. The Pen of the Year pens are huge and they're beautiful, and then they slap a number 6 nib on it. I think if you're paying $2,500 for a Pen of the Year, that's not what this is, by the way. You would probably want a number 8 nib, I would think, or at least I would, at least. But you know, at the end of the day, this thing performs better than most of the pens in my collection, better than these other two on the table. It's just a very unique experience. I mean, it's so the feedback is absolutely phenomenal, and I tend to prefer smooth pens to feedbacky pens, but in this, I don't really know how to describe it, but it just sounds good. It feels good. So Graf, I think, is a good mix of just uniqueness, materials used. This Macassar wood is so cool. I can already see a patina from just my finger oils as I use this. It is, like I said, a fingerprint magnet, so if that drives you crazy, you are not going to like this very much, because every part of it, the cap, the end finial, and the section here, just, I mean, constant fingerprinting, and it almost looks like it's tarnishing, but you just take a lens cloth and wipe it off, and pretty easy to fix. But so yeah, you know, definitely see a reason to get a Graf. It is, I didn't mention this, but it is a cartridge converter. So you know, some people like that, some people don't care. I personally don't care that much, but it is a cartridge converter. The Visconti, if you're gonna get it, I think you get it because of the materials, and also if you like smooth nibs, this is really a fantastic smooth nib to use. It's not better than a lot of my other pens. Like I think that I think for the price of it, like MSRP price of it, it probably doesn't justify keeping it, because there's just better options, I think, for, you know, a similar price point. But that being said, it is cool to own it, because, you know, first of all, the clip is fantastic. It's another spring-loaded clip. Okay, great clip. The kind of capping system on it, this hook safe or hook lock, you know, whatever they call it, is really cool. It's like a quarter turn to close. Basically, there's like 4 different orientations you can choose from when you cap it. So that is really unique, and the materials are just amazing. I mean, just it's very comfortable. The grip section's great. It's not super weighty, but it is, you know, it does have heft to it, so it feels very premium. Filling system being a power fill, again, it's kind of a mystery of what's going on in there, which I don't care for that much. And Visconti knows that, because they sell a Crystal Dreams, which is exactly the same in every way except for there's an ink window, and it's like $300 more expensive MSRP than the Homo Sapiens Dark. So, you know, is it $300? Is that worth having an ink window? I don't know. If you're buying this brand new and you're paying $900 for a pen, maybe it is, because it does kind of drive me nuts that there's absolutely no way to tell how much ink is in this pen. It's not like you can take it apart and see a cartridge converter and say, oh, it's halfway full. You can't even do that. So it's almost like if you just kind of have to know how much you're using it, and before you go on a trip, just fill it up anyways, sight unseen. But, you know, that's, again, some people care about that, some people don't. So if you're using this as an everyday pen, I think that would drive you nuts. And that is a big factor, I think, in an everyday pen is, are you confident in how much ink you have in it at any given time? And with the 823, yeah, you always know. With the Emperor, it doesn't. That's not an everyday pen, but I'm just using the filling system as an example. It doesn't really matter because you can put 7 milliliters of ink in it. So, odds are pretty good that you're going to have a lot of ink in there. The Graf, just pretty easy to unscrew it and check the converter and see, okay, I've got about 3/4 fill. All right, so I'm good. Easy as that. Visconti, there's absolutely no way to check. So the Visconti, you really are paying for materials, and it does, the nib performance is really good, and it does justify it a little bit more. But I would say of these three, like if I had $500 to spend on a pen, and I think you could probably get all three of these for $500 or less. You'd have to buy these two new or these two used, which narrows down your selection of what model you're getting, and you're kind of taking a gamble on the nib performance and stuff. But if I had $500 to spend, I would get the Graf, I think. If I was just starting out my collection, I probably wouldn't be spending $500 on a pen, but I would definitely get the Pilot. And then if I was just, okay, I have a German pen, an Italian pen, I have a German pen, I have Japanese pens, I have, I have a Parker, I have, kind of a variety of different types of pens and nibs, or you have an Aurora or something like that, and you want to get something that is, very unique to all of those and comes in a very premium material, and then maybe the Visconti is the way to go. But I think of these three, this is my least favorite. And it's really just because of the practicality of it. It's the lack of ink window. It's not a deal breaker for me. I'm not gonna sell this thing anytime soon, but it would be the thing that causes it to be on the chopping block if I were to get rid of it. So hope that answered some questions if you had questions about any of these three or were curious of a comparison. But I would say don't let the nib size scare you away on the Graf, because the performance of it is just so amazing that it doesn't really matter. It just makes me really want to try like the Magnum or something like that with a number 6 Graf 18 karat nib, because I'm just so curious how different it is. Or is it more smooth? Does it still have feedback? Is it more soft? Like, I'm so curious what it feels like to use one of those number 6 nibs the Graf makes. And I have a feeling it's probably significantly better than these other two. Or at least maybe not significantly, but I have a feeling it would be better. So that's it for the video today, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'm sorry the lighting is a little weird and kind of have the kind of probably in and out of the camera, but I can't see my phone screen, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But that's the beauty of this channel, I guess. It's just an everyman's pen channel, and I'm not gonna, I don't edit it at all, and I don't do different cuts and do graphics and things like that. I'm just, that's why it's called Pen Chat. We're just talking about pens. So anyways, happy holidays to you, and see you for the next one.